So today we have verses 12, 13, and 14 of the Upanishad lined up. I will start with verse number 12. Okay, now I had already sent the translation. I had shared it on the WhatsApp group. If you notice, the flow of the three verses is very similar to the three verses of the last time. So I'll start with verse number 12. अन्धं तमः प्रविशन्ति ये असम्भूतिमुपासते ततो भूयेव ते तमो यौ सम्भूत्यां रताः. So the verse translates to, into blinding darkness enter those who worship unmanifest matter, but in greater darkness are those who devote themselves to manifest matter, which is actually what makes up the world around us. So now I will do the Sandhi Vichhed also. So Andham is into blinding, Tamaha is darkness, Pravishanti enter, ye those who Asambhuti is unmanifest matter, Upasate is worship or follow, Tataha than that, Bhuev in greater, Te those, Tamoya in darkness, who also, Sambhutyam or in the manifest, Rata is revel or devote. So this is what the verse translates to. Into blinding darkness enter those who worship unmanifest matter, but in greater darkness are those who devote themselves to manifested matter. So let's read it together. Andham tamha pravishanti ye asambhuti mupasate tato bhu ev te tamo ya u sambhutyam rataha. So if you would have noticed, the two set of today's three verses are very similar to what we did last Saturday, last session. The only thing is that asambhuti or unmanifest matter has replaced avidya, and sambhuti or the manifested matter has replaced vidya. So that is the only difference. And the construct is how of bhuti. Bhuti is what is created. So that's how the term bhuti, sambhuti is well created. And asambhuti is something which is not created. So asambhuti or unmanifest matter, what we are translating it to, actually represents the avyakt or what cannot be manifested or what is not manifested. And because it is not manifested, it is not perceivable. So it's unperceivable. Therefore, it cannot be known by our senses. At the same time, this asambhuti, the unmanifested matter, is the cause of birth of the manifested matter. So in our scriptures, we refer to it as the Hiran Garbh or the golden egg. Okay, so from which the creation came about. So it is therefore called the ultimate cause, the asambhuti. Sambhuti is the manifested, the universe that we see around us. It is perceived, so we can see it, we can feel it, touch it, smell it, etc. All our organs of perception can experience it. It is born. So Sambhuti is created, it is born, and it is the effect. And now the relationship between Paramatma, asambhuti, and the sambhuti is as follows: that Paramatman is God, is the it creates this asambhuti, which is actually unmanifested matter or the primordial matter as we refer to it, and from that the continuous creation and dissolution of the universe keeps taking place. So that is the sambhuti part. So Paramatma gives rise to the asambhuti, and in the asambhuti the sambhuti takes place or the creation of the universe. You can, it can be through any theory. I mean, so you may have the Big Bang theory, whatever you want to apply for the creation and of the universe, right? So now, when we try to understand asambhuti, or the primordial matter, we can only do it through what we perceive, or the manifested matter. So, to reach what we cannot perceive, asambhuti, we study in depth what we see around us, which is sambhuti, the world that we see. So, consequently, scientists and astronomers keep analyzing further and further into the matter that we see or experience, and farther and farther. So when we see ourselves as part of a universe or a galaxy, so these are the two ways in which the scientists and the astronomers actually function, to study that matter, to study what is manifest, and from that manifest try to understand the unmanifest. So this method of understanding the manifest primordial matter has been going on for centuries, and will go on for centuries till the time the creation is there, and never reaching an end. Most of the scientists discount God, because actually there's no evidence that there is something beyond what we can dissect or consolidate. I will try to bring this about by two kinds of analysis: the micro analysis and the macro analysis of the universe, starting from us. Of course, I'm not going through all the details, but it'll give you an idea of what one is talking about and what science is actually doing. Science and even astronomy is a science. So, how are we functioning? So, first, we will take up the micro analysis. So, we start with us. So, I am there, and then we go on talking about our organs and all that. Finally we say that, okay, the fundamental building block of myself are the cells. This was a theory for a long, long time. Then as the studies, scientific discoveries progressed, and the instruments, our microscopes became stronger and more powerful, then we reached the state of the molecules, which were capable of independent existence. So now the building blocks became molecules. Then, further on the scientific discoveries and calculations, we reached the state of atoms. So, atoms combine to form the molecule. So, you have two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen to give you H2O, which is the water which you drink. So, that became, so we dissected it further. Then, where the calculations were going slightly awry, the scientists started believing, or the humans started believing, that there is more to it. So we discovered the protons. Now, the protons were theorized in 1815, and they were discovered in 1886. So that is roughly 71 years that it took them to actually discover. But the calculations, the analysis was telling that there has to be some other particle to compensate for that, the weight calculation problems, atomic weight problems. Then we struck upon electrons. So these were theorized in 1838 and discovered in 1897. And we also then felt that there has to be yet another particle, which were the neutrons, which were theorized in 1920. So that's 100 years ago. And they were discovered in 1932. As the scientists progressed further, they reached the particles called quarks. And now these were theorized in 1964 and discovered in 1968. Also, if you notice a reduction in the timeline between the theorization and the discovery, you'll notice it's reducing significantly as we are making progress scientifically. as our equipments are becoming better. So now quarks are considered to be our building blocks. So, and so this is one micro analysis. Now let's move ahead with the macro analysis. Where are we in the universe? So we humans stay on Earth. That's the next step, which is part of the solar system. So it consists, solar system is all the planets which move around the sun. And solar system itself is a part of the Milky Way, which is a galaxy with 200, 400 billion stars. We don't have the exact count. So somewhere between 200 to 400 billion stars are there as part of the Milky Way. And the entire universe consists of billions of such galaxies. So you can imagine now what I have covered from the micro to the macro is from the quarks to the billions of galaxies. So all this is part of that creation, of that manifestation. And we are dissecting or consolidating to try to understand what is beyond this, right? So this method or this analysis, research, discoveries, and the correction of our discoveries and theories will go on and on. But in and through all these, we will not reach God. We will not be able to understand. We will not reach there because God is beyond that, is much more subtle than all these things put together. And our research is in the realm of only Sambhuti, because we are capable of analyzing only that is perceptible. And of course, not having empirical evidence of God, scientists and astronomers conclude incorrectly that God does not exist. A true scientist, however, starts realizing the presence of God. And as such a scientist progresses further on with his experiments, the scientist understands that there's something more which the scientist is not capable of reaching there. And today I'm going to quote a lot of Einstein, because I think Einstein was one of the greatest scientists of all times. And he got to us what we have, which led to a lot of landmark discoveries in the area of physics, especially. So his theory of relativity. Einstein believed in a cosmic religion. And I'm quoting this from Einstein: the religion of the future will be a cosmic religion. It should transcend a personal God and avoid dogmas and theology. Covering both the natural and the spiritual, it should be based on a religious sense arising from the experience of all things, natural and spiritual, as a meaningful unity. So essentially, that is the end of the quote. Essentially, this implies that God's presence is evident in the order and rationality of nature and the entire universe in all its aspects. And this is what we have been saying when we have been talking of the eternal laws that our scriptures talk of. And to corroborate the same thing Einstein has said, again I'm quoting, quote, God does not play dice with the universe, quote end. So again, God does not take chances. The laws are there, and the entire creation is functioning as per these eternal laws that our scriptures are mentioning and that we have been reading about. Coming back to the verse, this verse is saying that, of course, we are trying to reach the unmanifest through the manifest. So that is what all these scientists and the great people are doing. The verse, however, says that the blind consumption of what is manifest leads to greater darkness. So this is, I think, fairly clear when we are uh, devoting ourselves to what appears in front of us, our sense organs. We move out into the world. So now if you take the verse together, it means that the people who devote themselves to the manifest are, of course, in darkness, right? But those who are devoting themselves entirely to the manifest, that means they don't even think about other things beyond what is seen and can be consumed, you know. So the enchanting world with all its attractions. So these people are in greater darkness because of the devotion to the what is manifested and to enjoy it. We continue to make mindless contact with the world. We are on the prayer path. You may recollect the Kathopanishad. And instead of yogis, we have become bhogis. So instead of seeking union with that power which we cannot perceive, we are out into the world to enjoy. Okay, at least let this give me pleasure, let this give me pleasure, let me enjoy this, right? And as we are contacting the world, we continue to add to our baggage of desires and therefore vasanas, and therefore it is greater darkness. So understanding the manifest, or studying from the manifest to try and understand God, is very important. So understanding nature is very important to understand God. God's creation is perfect because in God's creation or universe, everything works according to the rules that are laid out for it, the eternal laws. So see, the light travels in a straight line. The seed will give rise to the sapling, to the plant, to the tree or the bush. Summer follows winter, and winter follows summer. Then we have the daily cycles. The sun rises every morning and sets every evening. The planets stay in the orbit around the sun. Now, if you think of it, that if any of these things went haywire, so the sun suddenly said, okay, today I'm not going to rise, or decided just to not set, remain in the sky, what will happen to the rest of the world? So, what all that we take for granted is actually very, very scientific, and it is controlled by that the universal laws. And Einstein, I'm quoting again, goes on to say that look deep into nature and then you will understand everything better. So the verse, this current verse is saying that those who blindly revel in manifested matter suffer a worse fate because they have neither the time nor the inclination for anything other than what can be consumed. And greater darkness because the vasana baggage increases. So the exiting the cycle of birth and death is impossible. And also they're not even bothered about the deeper mysteries of nature. So with that, let me move on to verse number 13. I will chant. Anyadevahu sambhavadanya dahur sambhavata iti shushrum dhiranam yenastadvichachakshire. So the verse translates to, other it is said is that which comes by manifest, other that which comes by the unmanifest. This is what we have received from the wise who revealed that God to our understanding. Another translation can be, they say, they meaning the wise ones, they say that the relevance of manifest in achieving our personal goals is different and that of the unmanifest is different. This is what we hear from the spiritual masters who have explained these matters to us in detail. Translation wise, it's simple, same as last time's. Anyate, another result. Ahu is said. Sambhavad is by following manifest. Anyat, another. Ahu is said. Asambhavad by following the unmanifest. Iti, thus, Shushrum has been heard. Dhiranam is the wise people. Yehu, nah, us, tat, that Paramatman, which Chakshire explained. So, other it is said is that which comes by manifest, other that which comes by unmanifest. This is what we have received from the wise who revealed that God to our understanding. So let's read together. Anya Devahu Sambhavad Anya Dahur Sambhavad Iti Shushrum Dhiranam ye nastad vichakshre. So this translation is very simple, which is that neither the manifest nor the unmanifest is meaningless. We must understand that by themselves they are not the be all and the end all. Both have a role to play in our attainment of God, and they should be harnessed judiciously by us, as we is described in the next verse. So that we come to verse number 14. I will chant. Sambhutim cha vinasham च यस्तद्वेदो भयं सह विनाशेन मृत्युं तीतर्वा सम्भूत्या अमृतमश्नुते. So the verse translates to one who knows both the manifest and the unmanifest together goes beyond death with the help of the unmanifest, and by means of manifest matter attains salvation or moksha. So word by word, it's almost similar to what we did last time, because the verses are the same actually. Only Sambhuti and Asambhuti replace Vidya and Avidya. So Sambhutam is through manifest, cha and Vinasham is unmanifested matter, cha and ya that, tat that, Ved understand, Abhayam, both these, Saha together, Vinasham through unmanifested matter, Mrityum Titarva is death, Titarva crosses over, Sambhuti through the manifested matter, Amritam or ambrosia, nectar, or salvation, or moksha, mashnate, obtains or enjoys, sees, right? So, one who knows both the manifest and the unmanifest together goes beyond death with the help of the unmanifest, and by means of the manifest matter attains salvation or moksha. So, let's read it together. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastad vedobhayam saha vinashen mrityum titarva sambhutya amrit mashnute. So now let's come to the discussion. In this particular verse, Vinasham is actually referring to Asambhuti, or the unmanifested matter. And actually, the verse is alluding to the macrocosmic cycle of creation. This macrocosmic cycle of creation, you may recollect, we had studied in detail in chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, where we had talked about various cycles of creation and resolutions. I will bring out the four types of cycles in brief here, so that we know what we are talking about. So Nitya is the daily terrestrial cycle, where we wake up. So we stream into our waking state of consciousness at daybreak. We manifest ourselves in the world. So by doing whatever we have set out to do, and every night we fall back into that state of unmanifest. Now we are not acting. So this is the daily death. It's like a daily death of all of us. So this is the Nitya daily cycle that I was talking about. I was talking about it with the reference to the sun. With the rise of the sun, we get up, and with the setting of the sun, we go to sleep. Normally, that used to be the case. Then we talk about the Namitic cycle, or the Kalp and the Pralay, that takes place in one day of Brahma. Now, one day of Brahma is 8.6 billion years, human years. So that is the cycle in which the creation of the universe and the dissolution takes place. This is the cycle which goes on in itself. Then the third cycle is the Mahapralaya, which is when Brahma dies, or end of Brahma's life, when the entire universe is dissolved, and then all the matter, as per what is mentioned in our scriptures, goes back to that Asambhuti, that Hirangarbha. So now age of Brahma is 100 years, and each year in the Brahma's age has 360 days. That so one day and one night of Brahma is 8.64 billion years. So 360 into 100 into 8.6 billion years, which comes out to be 311 trillion years, is this cycle. The Mahapralaya takes place after so much time. And then, of course, we also talked in that chapter about the Atyantik Pralay, which refers to the moksha liberation, where the soul is liberated from this transmigratory existence. That means we skip all these cycles. We are out of that, and that is what the goal we humans should be having to reach. So, at creation, what is happening? Asambhuti is becoming Sambhuti, or the primordial matter is transforming into creation. And at the dissolution, Asambhuti is moving, Sambhuti, the created matter, is moving into Asambhuti. And by studying matter, I've shared certain examples with you. We understand that consciousness cannot be created and is difficult to reach. So, scientists who believe that consciousness can be created from matter have been doing so for generations and will continue to do so for generations. They will not reach that consciousness, that pure consciousness. So it's only intelligent scientists who sees beyond matter and is able to see the realm, that fine line beyond which the matter does not progress, is not able to take him or her. Such a scientist starts experiencing the presence of God. And this is what we reach the state when we start removing the layers of matter from ourselves. So that is when we start believing in God. Of course, I've shared with you that from the Katha Upanishad, that Lord Yabraj tells Nachiketa how to reach that by removing the layers, like peeling the onion, and then you will reach that consciousness. I want to quote again Einstein, two of his famous quotes again, which say that I never made one of my discoveries through the process of rational thinking. That's the end of the quote. Einstein was a school dropout and he was considered a dumb person. Okay, you can look up his biography and you'll be quite surprised, and actually you'll be, inspired by him. Einstein also says, reality is an illusion, although a very persistent one. End of quote. This is what our Bhagavad Gita is referring to as Maya. Again, Newton and other scientists, I will share two of his quotes with you, which are relevant to what we are discussing today. So, his first quote is that one who thinks half-heartedly will not believe in God, but one who really thinks has to believe in God. Please note, these are scientists talking to us. Okay, this is Newton. Earlier, I was quoting a lot of Einstein. And then Newton goes on to say on his achievements, I'll start the quote: I was like a boy on the seashore and diverting myself, now and then finding a smoother pebble or a prettier one, while the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. So, end of quote. All this, I mean, I'm quoting these great scientists which tell us that true study of matter reveals to us that the essence or core is different from matter, and we cannot generate consciousness from the matter that we are talking about. So this implies that the soul or that pure consciousness exists, and once we understand that we are different from matter, we utilize our body to transcend this material world which we are out consuming. When we realize this, we start nurturing and utilizing our body, which is made up of sambhuti or matter, the five great elements and devoted to understand God. So the five great elements are the Panch Mahabhut, the five great that exist. Bhut is exists or created. And the five fundamental elements we know are the Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, and Prithvi, which are responsible for creation of the universe, including the humans. And they form the basis of both the macrocosm and the microcosm. So once we have glimpses of this, we start purifying ourselves through the practices of the Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, the three principal levels at the yogas, at the level of the body, mind, and intellect, and also through Avidya and Vidya, which we covered in the previous set of verses, verses 9, 10, and 11 of this Upanishad. So we fix our mind on that supreme power, that pure consciousness, which is a cause and which holds or in which both the microcosm and the macrocosm exist. The point is that we must never get stuck at any stage. So at no stage should we get stuck in the ritual, in cleaning the deity, in fasting, bhajans, whatever, conducting spiritual sessions, anything. We should not get stuck. All these rituals, cleaning the deity, having sessions, fasting, bhajans, they all means for us to prepare us to take that final leap to merge with that Paramatman, which cannot be reached through the finite senses. At So all these practices, the Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Avidya, Vidya, now we are talking of Sambhuti, Asambhuti, they are telling us, given our personality, what is the time at which the final leap should be taken. At that stage, when we are ready for the final leap, we leave this entire set of props and support systems, rituals, scriptures, gurus, etc., on this side and attain our goal of moksha. You may recollect the pole vaulter example that we had talked about last time. Same thing applies here. So, just as the pole vaulter leaves the pole to cross the bar, we also will leave everything. And the most important thing is actually we know where to put the pole into the ground and then take the leap. So the all these support systems will tell us where to put ourselves and take the leap, right? So, and like a wave, then in the ocean, we will merge back to our source. So, with that, we conclude today's session.